The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Well, the people lost 3 hours of our content.
Yeah.
Here we went over quite a bit of things.
I know. We had our predictions.
We went over the AAF.
Yeah. Right.
We predict
they'll get us
that nobody will ever
for golf and Star Wars, I guess. So.
Well, here's what I figure, okay? If you want to, really quick, if anybody can remember, we can go back through our predictions for the series. But
we're going to talk about them anyway. So
right. The other thing we brought up was the Jets uniforms. None of us are crazy about them, right?
It's like sub-pro, I think, was what Zach said.
Right. And the AAF, Mike and I were really sad to see it go, and Zach, it was kind of expected. So, and none of us could figure out why all that money couldn't run that league. And that's it.
Probably because Tom Dundon is a predatory shark.
Right. Right, exactly. So, and we also talked about the Blue Jackets, who at the time were up, what, 2-0 or 1-0? 1-0.
Yeah,
they only
won one game, but now it's been, it's been a few days. And,
top of the hockey world.
Yeah, I don't know how to act. I don't.
3 games to nothing.
For the first time in their history, the Blue Jackets have won 3 playoff games.
Yeah.
Against, this team.
Well, not only that, but 2 games in a row now, these last 2 games are the first 2 times in their playoff history they've given up less than 3 goals in a game.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, and I think in total they only have 4 regulation playoff wins in their history now.
Yeah. I also would like to point this out, too, and I hate to do this to you Tampa Bay fans, but I'm going to. Steven Stamkos has scored exactly as many points in that series as I have. And I don't think that's a good thing for your team.
Oh, him and Nikita Kucherov. And
I think Steven Stamkos, this series has been highlighting what I think a lot of people in Tampa have been picking up on over the last couple of years, which is that come April, he kind of just vanishes.
I said that he's harder to find right now than somebody in witness protection.
A friend of mine who is a pretty big Lightning fan was going in Game 3. Stamkos it's like he's playing like a coward. and then he was like, he said to me, it's like, hey, do you guys want him for the Leafs? And I'm like, no, we dodged that bullet.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Mike. Are you happy now that the Leafs didn't get him?
There's always that weird caveat of sometimes a change of scenery just brings something out, and so who knows? Maybe he's a playoff scoring machine in Toronto, but that's probably not what would have happened. So yeah, I'm actually kind of glad that he didn't show up.
The thing about his playoff numbers, though, somebody put it up on the boards. It was 51 points in 69 games.
That's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but the problem is he doesn't have an assist in his last 15 games. So when you look at the numbers overall are fine. It's that this last stretch has not been great.
But I think, and again, I haven't double checked on this, so I could be talking out of my ass. But I saw someone say that he only had 1 assist during their 2015 Cup run when they met the Blackhawks in the finals.
I think he had a little bit more than that. But
I think it was 1 assist in the series, wasn't it? Wasn't that what it was? Yeah.
No, that's what I meant, the series.
Yeah.
That final series.
And then even last year against the Capitals, the only time that he scored was on the power play, if I remember right.
Yes.
That's the thing is his 5-on-5 playoff numbers are not great. So
I think last year his only quote unquote even strength goal in the playoffs was an empty netter.
God.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's right.
Well, anyway, I think that is one. I mean, clearly the Lightning have more issues right now than just Steven Stamkos.
I mean, I'm really glad that this series is kind of displaying what I've been saying for a while on the show, is that John Cooper doesn't know what he's doing.
I guess not.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing that I see with the Lightning, they are trying to play regular season hockey in a playoff world.
Okay,
that's what it looks like to me.
Because that's what I was going to ask. I mean, because this is obviously a really good team. And you saw for a while last night in Game 3, they turned it on, and it was just like, oh, my God, I don't know how my team's going to survive this. But they did, because it seemed like they were only able to ratchet it up for about 10 minutes, and then it was gone. I mean, like the best thing and the worst thing was a TV break. It was the best thing that could have happened to the Blue Jackets, and the worst thing that could have happened to the Lightning, is they were really just cranking it up to that level that you need to be at.
It's exactly like we talked about, or at least I had said a few times. In the regular season, the speed and skill game that the Lightning like to play, it works because you can dazzle around people all night and you can beat them 5-1. When you get into the playoffs, it's harder. It's simply harder because everyone ratchets their game up and makes it kind of a slog. Like you look at the Game 2 between Toronto and Boston, and you look at anything the Lightning have tried to do, the Lightning would get murdered by the way either of those two teams tried to play in that game.
I'd say right now.
I was just saying, I just wanted to say, in terms of what Zach said, and kind of building off of something Greg said, the Lightning are playing, regular season hockey in a playoff world. Well, you look at the regular season they had, and I mean, I guess this is kind of the trap of having a historic regular season, right? Because when you essentially don't face any competition through the the regular season, and then like what impetus, like why ratchet it up, like as a team, as a group mentality? I'm talking about like group psychology. Like I'm not saying there's an overt decision to say, oh, we're not going to try our hardest, but like as a group dynamic, if you've been dominating all year, gets to the playoffs, you're like, well, why should we change? Right. Like
I think, well, to me, beyond that, beyond like the play on the ice, and it's something that you brought up plenty, over the course of the season and in the last few seasons, Mike, I don't like anything about John Cooper's post-game press conferences in these playoffs.
They've been masterpieces of ineptitude.
He's like, oh, it's a 5-alarm fire. We just, we're just going to have to, play good in the regular season. It's just like, I don't like any of his answers. They don't say anything. Yeah,
there's no urgency, and I liked the one that you brought up. I think it was after Game 2 where he said, all he could really say was like, well, it's playoff hockey, and playoff hockey is different than regular season hockey. It's like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah. How are you going to get your team through that?
I could have said that. Like,
what is your team doing wrong? What do they need to fix? Well, I don't know. It's not even coaching cliches of, hey, we're gonna go back into practice tomorrow. We're gonna work really hard, and we're gonna have to try.
We're gonna go out and play our game for 60 minutes next. Yeah,
it's not even that garbage.
Yeah,
and like normally, that's something that some of the media members have praised John Cooper for in the past, for not giving the cliche answer. But at a time like this, when like your team is, he called it like a 5-alarm fire after Game 2. What the hell is it now? Like,
yeah, it's bad. Look, nothing's ever over until it's over. But this team, I don't want to make any predictions because I'm afraid I'll jinx my Blue Jackets. But I'm watching this and I'm going, I don't see. Just the way they've played, I'm like, how in the world are they going to win 4 straight games? I mean, they're not saying they can't. They've certainly got the talent to do it. But what in the world are they going to change? Because right now it looks like they have to change everything. Are they going to do that? And then to add to that, this is something I wanted to bring up. Last night, Sergei Bobrovsky actually looked like a goalie in the playoffs for the first time ever, I think. He really played well last night. I thought, man, if he can keep this up,
yeah.
And, if they win this series, which is still, nothing's decided yet, but if they win the series and he can play like this, they're going to be a tough out. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go to the finals or anything like that, or whatever that asshole on the board said last night. Calm down, you're not going to win the cup. Nobody's talking about that.
No, this is the first time the Blue Jackets would have won a playoff series.
That's all we're going for. Like I said, whatever happens next is what happens next.
It's kind of like last year for the Winnipeg Jets, right? Where it's like the quest to win a playoff series. And of course, the Jets made it to the Western Conference Finals, which a bit more than I think anyone expected. But, at the start of the playoffs, it was just like, hey, guys, let's try to win a series, and we'll go from there.
That's what the Blue Jackets were basically talking about at the trade deadline.
It's like, we just want to win a playoff series.
Literally, like, we're going all in because they don't. That
hasn't won one now, right? Like,
right? Yeah. Well, because Vegas, screwed it up.
Yeah, fucking Vegas.
Yeah.
The fucking Sharks. We can talk about the fucking Sharks too. Yeah.
And just, I don't know. I've seen some great collapses in my day when it comes to playoff teams. This is up there. Like, could you imagine the Warriors like losing to the Clippers or something like that? Because that's essentially what this is.
Yeah, that's another thing that a friend of mine pointed out watching the game last night, which was like people mentioned, like, I think the 62 game victory Red Wings lost in the conference finals. The New England Patriots, who went like 17-0, like they lost in the Super Bowl. The Warriors, right, in 2016, 73 regular season games, lost in the finals. This is a first round exit.
And it could be a sweep. Could be a sweep.
Could be a sweep. Yeah.
You could get swept out in the first round by the number 8 seed, which has that ever even happened? Well,
the Ducks beat the Sharks when they won the President's Trophy in 5 games.
Okay, but
which gave us the beautiful Sharks fan breakdown video. So
yes.
But no, I mean, look, the Blue Jackets, and what I've seen, they've outplayed them in every aspect of the game. There's not one thing that I think that Tampa Bay could walk off the ice and go, yeah, we did that better than them. Not one thing that I can think of. I mean, the Jackets are hitting, they're skating, they're doing everything right. And Tampa Bay, like, for a minute or two, seems like they can fire it up. Like, they've got that Chicago gear, but they don't want to use it. Is what it seems like to me.
I wouldn't say they have that Chicago gear, because, like, my take on it is that this is a very talented team, like the Blackhawks, and therefore, like, the ability to sort of turn it up exists, but at the same time, like, and again, I'm going to harp on it, they don't have the leadership Chicago did.
Yeah, well, that's
I'm not talking I'm sorry, John Cooper is not Joel Quenneville.
That's what I mean, though. Like, they
I'm just saying, like, in terms of on ice leadership, the Lightning's captain is Steven Stamkos. He doesn't seem like he wants to be there.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Tomorrow night is going to really be something, because my fear is that, if the Jackets lose tomorrow night, I don't want it to become, oh my God, here we go again, because the Lightning is certainly capable of pulling off a reverse sweep here and taking 4 straight. But I look at it, I think the Jackets, you got to win 1 out of 4 at this point.
Yeah.
Which I would have said going into the series, they were capable of winning 1 out of 4.
I mean, the thing about it is that is a sweep. Like, do I think the Blue Jackets sweep? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I think they almost have to. I think they know that too.
But I also don't. But see, here's the thing. I don't necessarily agree with that. If the Lightning win Game 4, I don't think there's a need to panic, because this Lightning team is very capable of winning 4 straight games. But at the same time. At the same time, though, the Blue Jackets are a team that is very much capable of winning 1 in 4 games, and so I don't. They're an 8th seed, right? But they're still a playoff team. They're still a playoff caliber team. They're not winning 1 in 4 games is not.
That's what I had
a reasonable situation.
That's what I explained to one of my friends on Facebook today. He was like, I don't believe this last place team. I said, wait, time out. I said, they're not a last place team. They're the number 8 seed. I said, but they'd be like the number 2 seed out west. I mean, I said, they're a good team.
Yeah. And not even that. Like, again, as we pointed out, they have more wins in the regulation wins than the Penguins and Maple Leafs did.
Right, and that's
just
what I had to
because
explain.
They didn't make it to overtime enough. That's the only reason that they're in the 8th spot.
Right, that's what but it was like, how is this, this like 12-win team, beating this juggernaut? It's like, well, let's give them a little bit of credit here. They're a good hockey team, and they made some pretty smart moves at the deadline. again, like you guys, and I agree, to win a series, and but yeah, I had to explain, like, they're not this. It isn't the Cinder. I mean, it's certainly an upset, no question about it. But this isn't the U.S. beating the Soviets here. I mean, come on, And a lot of people are treating it like that's what it is. It's like they're better than that.
Hell, when it comes to point differentials between upsets in the NHL, this isn't even the biggest one. Like, yes, the Lightning were a record-setting team, but you look at the 2010 Capitals and Habs.
I think there was a greater regular season points disparity between the 2010 Capitals and Habs than there is between the Lightning.
Right, exactly.
This year.
That's what I'm saying, and it's just, it's kind of amazing to see such a great team crumble, but it's one of those things too where people are like, well, I was gonna pick the Blue Jackets.
Oh,
but
no, they weren't.
No, come on. Like,
no one was.
It's something that maybe you could see some avenues towards it, but nobody in their right mind was gonna pick this.
No.
So
no.
it's just not.
And you want to know,
and especially not a 3-0 set, like 7-game series maybe, but not now.
And the thing about it, right, is that I don't know, like, just let it ride. There are a lot of people who seem like kind of upset at the fact that people are enjoying this.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
But I don't know. People are.
I didn't know Tampa Bay had such a large following out there. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with the Lightning is that for a while now they've been like the unholy alliance of like Southern Sunbelt fans and Red Wings fans. So it's like through Yzerman. So it's like that double thing of smugness that is just. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying it, and and I think it's worth. And I think it kind of had to happen for this team because, again, like talking about a team, like the amount of talent this team has assembled over the past 7 years or so, they should have at least one cup in there. They should have at least one cup to their name, and they don't. And I think a big reason of that is because coaching has not been there. And I think John Cooper is an active hindrance at this point in the playoffs. And if they need to get pantsed by the Blue Jackets in the first round one year to realize that we need to change something or we're basically the new Capitals, then. Well,
that's the thing too. But the Lightning had this baggage coming into this series. And not to the Capitals level, but it was there.
It wasn't at the Capitals level, and I think here's the thing about it is that baggage was always there, but it was never at the Capitals level. And I think the fact that they had such a dominant year this year that like it was almost inconceivable that they'd flame out in the playoffs. People were willing to give them like leeway, but now that they're actually down 3-0, now you see people talking about it again. So. It's definitely something where the narrative, I think, has grown as the series has gone on.
But it's got to be in their heads.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And that's got to be that's problematic. And I don't know. Last night's game was a good game, but like game one, you're up 3-0, and you just let the Jackets reel off 4 unanswered goals like it was no big deal. Then you got your asses handed to you in game two. No two ways about it. Last night was a tight game, but. I got nervous when Tampa scored because they seemed like they had found it for a minute there, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. But Bobrovsky finally, I've always thought he was a little shaky in the playoffs. Not terrible, but not like that guy that you go, okay, yeah, I feel really good about him. And he seemed like last night, like he had that one game where he was like that goalie. I can't think of a good example of a hot goalie to save my life right now, but you know what I'm talking about. The guy where you go, yeah, we're going to be okay. And last night he played like that. He made some incredible saves last night. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's new territory for me. As a Blue Jackets fan, and I got to say, I was a Rangers fan for 20 some years. I've never had this much fun. This is great because there's nothing that, nothing's expected of you, especially now. And they're out there. They've got a 3-0 lead. The crowd was great last night in Columbus, which was awesome to see. So I'm just having a good time. So to the people on the boards, quit trying to kill my buzz and leave McCarthy alone. This guy deserves this more than anybody that I know.
McCarthy has been a Blue Jackets fan
from day one
since literally day one.
Yep, day one.
And I I feel for the guy because, like, as a Leafs fan, I've had to sit through some garbage seasons, and so I know he's had to sit through a lot of garbage too. And so I feel for him, and I'm kind of pulling for the Blue Jackets almost just for him, because you know what, McCarthy deserves a playoff series. He does.
Yes. The fact that the Blue Jackets even have fans at this point is commendable. Just because
after the
garbage teams I've had to watch.
After the years of it being Rick Nash and a bunch of guys.
Oh. And then the years of it being no Rick Nash and just guys.
What was the year I went to see them? They played, it was like in 14, I think. Maybe 13. I don't remember. It was one of those years. They had nobody. I went and saw them play the Devils. And Martin Brodeur, God bless him, had the easiest shutout he's ever gotten in his life. I think he stopped 14 shots. All of them hit him like right in the NJ on his chest. And that team was just so fucking bad. And I was surprised there were people there because the crowd was just dead and all that. But anyway, point being, going back to the original point, McCarthy deserves this. I won't even say for a second I'm near the fan that he is, but this guy has lived and died with this team from day one, and God bless him. I hope they win it just for him.
Speaking of another Blue Jackets fan on the boards, did we ever confirm if that was Crash at the game?
At the 07 guy? I really hope not. I doubt it. Crash wouldn't wear an 07 jersey.
I don't think so.
But did you guys see the guy I was talking about, number 07? Every time they would come down the ice, he was up like arms flailing and yelling and pointing at people, and it was just the funniest thing to me. But anyway, believe it or not, folks, this is not the only series going on in the NHL right now. There are others.
My other favorite series out east, I love these Islanders.
Oh, these Islanders are fun.
Just
man, oh, man.
pantsing the Penguins.
Pantsing the Penguins, and just they look so good. I love the way that they play. They play like the sort of fast style that you would have expected from Tampa, but they play fast and aggressive, and they just keep coming right to you.
Yeah,
and it's working. And Robin Lehman's doing incredible stuff in net.
Almost like Barry Trotz was a good coach, and maybe the Capitals should have paid him his damn money.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Did anybody expect anything out of the Islanders this year?
No, I mean it's people.
There's that one Deadspin article, like NHL preview from East to Islanders.
Yes, yeah. So to go back to the coaching thing, I think that you got the John Cooper thing with the Lightning, and then you see Barry Trotz won the Cup last year. Goes to the Islanders, a team that no one had expected much out of, and they're kicking the shit out of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not bad. So maybe that coaching thing does have something to do with things. Who knows?
Uh-huh.
I still, I'm not a big John Tortorella fan, but I got to say, what he's done so far, not bad. But that's gonna be a bitter pill for Tampa to swallow if it's John Tortorella of all people who coaches who knocks them out. He was their coach when they won the Cup, right?
He was, and then he had a few bad seasons. They fired him, and then he around a few places. Had his amazing stint in Vancouver, and then Columbus.
Is Isles Pence is 3-0 too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not breaking my heart to see the Penguins go away at all.
No, they're on the cusp of becoming
the
Blackhawks.
Yeah. The Kings.
Where it's like they have these great players, like the Blackhawks still have Taves and they still have Kane and Seabrook and all that. The Penguins still have Sidney Crosby. They still have Evgeny Malkin.
Bill Kessel. Yeah.
And they lack that edge. And I mean, we talked about this on the Lost playoff preview, but there's not the same fear in the Penguins that there used to be. And they didn't have a great season, but I don't even think it's that. I think they're right there from tumbling into the abyss that the Kings and Blackhawks have gone into.
Yeah, I could see it.
Because this series reminds me of when the Blackhawks got pantsed by the Predators in that one round.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then they took the dive the next year.
Yeah,
this might be that like canary in the coal mine of, all right, this is it.
Could be. It's going to be. Here's the funny thing: if the Jackets take out the Lightning, okay, well then they'll get the winner of Boston Toronto.
Yes.
Well, I don't like either one of those matchups. But
Well, that's the bad part about winning a playoff series. Congrats. Now you get to play a better team.
Yeah, right. And I still got the Capitals left, but I've not seen much of that series, so I don't know if the Capitals have been unimpressive. I've read from you guys that they've been pretty unimpressive in this series.
They should be blowing the door off the Canes, and they're winning, but like not convincingly.
But I'm looking at
they're playing
it
like a team that finally got the baggage off and is just like, all right, well, it's the first round. Do we really want to go through this right now? I guess we have to.
You're always going to have a little bit of a cup hangover too, and
like I don't know.
On the lost preview, we talked about I think it was one of the teams out west where we said that it was one of the. They looked like I think it was Pittsburgh. We said this about. Like, you know, we don't care about the first round. We need to get past it. Like nobody. Was it the Penguins or maybe the Purs? I don't remember, but yeah.
I also
might have
think
been the Caps.
After you finally get that baggage off your back and you beat the Penguins and you win the cup, are you really getting up for a first round series against the Hurricanes?
Right.
No. If they win and they move on and they have to play Barry Trotz and the Islanders in the next round,
that'd be interesting, huh?
Then there you go. It's like, all right, hey, now is our time to get moving. Because if you get beat by your old coach, then you're going to have some more questions to answer. But yeah, I think I'm not concerned with them quite yet, especially because they haven't lost.
Oh, yeah, I'm not worried about them. I think they'll be okay. I think it's just one of those deals where it's the first round, and like you said, they're playing the Carolina fucking Hurricanes. Who cares?
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I think if this Caps team goes up against the Islanders, like unless Brooklyn just zaps the life out of the Islanders,
that's what I'm worried about.
I have to like the Islanders in that series, just based off how good they've looked versus the Caps.
Yeah, but
that's the other thing about that Isle series. That Nassau and
God, they were rocking, awesome. Man. That was incredible. So cool to see.
And then they're going to go into a building where like a third of the seats can't see the ice.
Well, Honky will be there though. But yeah, I was worried about that. Another thing we talked about on the Lost preview was I was worried about what happened to the Isles once they had to start playing in Brooklyn again.
We'll find out. I mean, it looks like we're going to find out because I think they're going to win this series at this point.
But I mean, it was that Nassau Coliseum. That was like back in the Mike Bossy Islanders. You know, Billy Smith and all the other guys' days back then. That was incredible. Just so cool to see. I love that. I love when a hockey crowd's fired up. There's nothing better. Nothing better in the world. It's just too cool to watch. Especially a good, knowledgeable crowd that knows what's going on. Just great.
Which cracked me up because, you know, the Lightning have been around for a while now. They've had the most, you know, successful they've had the most successful season, I think, in franchise history. I mean, it's got to be. And yet the Lightning still have these things on their local broadcasts where it's like Dave Vanderchuk here to explain what offsides is.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I laugh. And maybe I'm an asshole. But I just like going to, like, you know, they don't do this stuff in Toronto.
Well,
it was funny.
They knew enough to boo him off the ice after game 2.
I got a my grandparents were cleaning out some of their closets, and they have this box of Duck stuff that they gave to me from like all the inaugural seasons and whatever. And I was going through it, and they kept the newspaper from the special section of like the day of the Ducks' first game, and they have that full preview, that full page of this is what offsides is, this is what icing is, these are the penalty calls and all that sort of stuff to teach people. It's like that made sense in 1993 before a team's very first game.
Yeah.
Things like what Nashville did a couple years ago or things like that, you should know better by now.
Well, not only that, but, I mean, really, is it really that hard to figure out, like, what offsides and what icing are? It takes, like, 5 minutes, and you go, okay, I get it. That's it.
Hockey offsides is far more easy to understand than soccer offsides is. Just saying.
Yeah. You know, I mean, and we don't even have, like, a 2-line pass anymore, right?
No.
Yeah, so that's gone. Yeah, so that's gone.
Which was always stupid anyway, in my opinion.
I kind of got it, but I like it better without it. But yeah, so if you know
what made things easier for the trap.
What, have the 2-line pass? The rule? Yeah.
The fucking, okay, yeah, the trap that, like, killed hockey.
Oh, that, I know when the Devils, was it 95, I think? when they won with that neutral zone trap. It was just and everybody.
Was it? Were the '95 Devils a trap team, or was that?
Oh yeah, I remember talking about it on my old sports show. Yeah, they were. That was like what they were all about, was the neutral zone trap, man. It was like, I guess, I don't know if it was a new thing or not, but it was like that was the thing.
I mean, you got it was the Devils won, I think, 3 cups with the trap and just. Well, didn't they beat for a while?
Didn't they beat Detroit that first time around in '95?
Yeah. They beat.
Yeah, they beat
Stars.
That was the Detroit team that set all the records.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember talking about the trap in '95. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we've got and then Leafs Bruins. I've not seen much of this either. I'm watching it right now.
Well, the Maple Leafs looked great in the first game. And then, well, Nazem Kadri happened in Game 2.
I mean, I'll tell you exactly what happened in Game 2, which is that the Leafs tried to play a physical game against the Bruins, and it didn't work. This Leafs team is fast, it's quick, and that's how they got to play. They can't get dragged down into Boston's kind of gritty game. They aren't built for that kind of game, and so that's what happened. The Leafs kind of outskated the Bruins in Game 1, and then the Bruins dragged them down and made them hurt in Game 2. And so,
are you comfortable with the split so far, Mike, with this?
I mean, yeah, honestly, after last year, coming out of Boston, tied 1-1. I mean, it's a better position to be in than down 2-0, most definitely. Taking a win in Boston in the start of the series is good. So yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not exactly happy with how Game 2 went, but Game 1, but yeah, coming out split after 2. I can think of worse places to be.
Well, didn't you say it was the first Game 1 win for Toronto in a series since like 2002?
2003.
2003?
Wow, really?
Against the Flyers, yes, and they lost that series, so whatever. But it was their first Game 1 win since 2003.
I wonder. I'm sure you could find out somewhere, but I wonder if there's a difference, like when you have a split, like if winning the first game or the second game makes any difference. Probably not, but like if you do better, like I think I would rather win the first game and lose the second one than have to be like playing.
I think it depends. I think, like, if you're on the road, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If you're at home, you don't want to lose either of them.
No, but that's what I mean. I guess I'm talking from like a road team perspective. Like, if it's better to win the first one or the second one. I mean, you'll take either one, obviously, but
yeah. Well, because you want to win at least one. You get that out of the way. Yeah, you're playing with house money in the second game, so maybe you don't play as well. But then you come home, and essentially you have home ice advantage now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What else is out east? That's everybody out east.
Yeah, now we got the West, which frankly is not nearly as interesting.
No, I mean, I think the best series would probably have to be Vegas San Jose, but based on what I saw, I think San Jose is ready to just kind of take that tumble.
Go home.
Yeah. Martin Jones is garbage. And somebody's in I think it was Game 2 or I guess it was Game 2. Mm-hmm. The Sharks or the broadcast put up a graphic for Martin Jones that over the last 2 years in these various goalie categories for guys that qualify in the categories, Martin Jones is like last or second to last in all these categories. Like, including like the fancy, analytical stats, which is not great.
No, not what you want in the playoffs.
No. And I mean, it showed in Game 2 and it showed in Game 3. Like, the Sharks didn't come into the playoffs confident at all. And you thought, okay, Game 1, they got it out of the way. They're going to be fine. Vegas has turned it on. Mark Stone has been incredible for them since coming over from Ottawa. But I don't know. I think the Sharks are kind of done, and unfortunately, it looks like Vegas might be primed to be back to their old selves again.
Well, they looked pretty good last night. I mean, the Sharks ran off. They scored like 2 goals, and like for a minute there, they tried to make it a game. They got it to 5-3, and then I don't know. They just didn't impress me, the Sharks, and I had no idea that Martin Jones' numbers were that bad. I know they talked a lot about how he needed to be better, in the playoffs, but yeah,
and especially it was kind of metal that Joe Pavelski scored with his chin in the first game. But the fact that your captain, one of your best players, is playing with he's playing with a broken jaw. Like, there's no way around that. He's playing with a broken jaw.
Yeah.
There's no way that doesn't affect him. Like, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hockey player, so of course he's playing with a broken jaw, but that's got to be tough. I don't care what you are. That's got to suck.
Yeah. Yeah, Vegas just looks faster. They look more on top of it, and the Sharks just look like a team with zero confidence. And I think that's kind of the whole MO for the San Jose franchise. But here they are again, gonna lose a series where they had home ice. Just what they do.
Yeah, well.
Shark's gonna shark.
Yeah.
I've been thoroughly bored by Calgary, Colorado. As I said in the text the other day, it's exactly like we talked about in the preview that nobody heard, but both of these teams are so reliant on their top lines. And so what you have is two teams that say, okay, well, we got to shut down the top lines. And then they do. And then the rest of the team has to play the game. And it's kind of just
not great.
Knocking the puck back and forth. And it's so much of a pace of the game now that Mike Smith has looked like an all-star Vezina caliber goalie for 2 games, which we all know
is not true.
Hey, Mike Smith pitched a shutout in game 1 of this series, folks. Just saying.
Yeah.
He's also got an Olympic gold medal. I just feel that needs to be emphasized.
Yeah.
I think he only had to move for like 3 saves. I don't know how many of those were shot right at him versus ones he had to actually use his glove for. But yeah, the only reason that game ended, like, Colorado actually was the better team in game 2, I thought. Nathan McKinnon was all over the ice and he finally scored in overtime, but I don't know. That series has no juice to me.
No.
I will say this: the Flames wearing the old school jerseys looks good. With the white
but now they're going on the road, and they're going to wear their stupid modern uniforms on the road. So whatever.
Yeah, but I got to say that the old school, the Landy McDonald era uniforms really popped on the screen. I thought they looked good.
Normally, I like the brighter retro hockey jerseys, but because of my age, I think those early 2000s Calgary jerseys are the perfect balance that they need, because I think these are too bright.
They were, I will say, they were bright. I mean, they really whoa,
Yeah,
but
a good complementary use of black kind of dulls that down just enough. Like, you don't want to do too much. Obviously, you don't want it to be black jerseys, but I think the black C looks better than the white C. And
no, I won't. I would say go along. Like, if you wanted to tone it down a little, maybe some black outlining. But I like the white C. That's what I think really works for that. But that red is really, really bright. I agree. Anyway,
Mike,
Pardon?
Any thought on the?
I'll just turn down Don Cherry for a moment there.
Here, I'll give you a summary. Toronto's made from Ontario boys, and Boston's not. Go beat them.
How are you watching? How are you getting the CBC feed, Mike?
I have essentially a VPN. I have got my computer thinking it's in Canada to watch the CBC games.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there you go.
All right.
Because you can watch the CBC games on their website if you're in Canada. It's free. You can.
Oh, cool. All right.
So I just tricked my computer into thinking that it's in Canada, and so now I'm watching that. But the thing about the Flames, I don't know. I'm with Zach. This whole series lacks juice. It lacks intrigue. It lacks any kind of excitement. I will say about the jerseys, I like the early 2000s Flame jerseys. I'd say probably the Flames uniforms that they wore when they played Tampa for the Cup are probably my favorite Flame set. But the problem I have with those is like the snot horse. So I don't think going back to
Snotty.
that. I don't think going back to that.
Or what's his name? Blasty the
Yes,
horse.
Blasty the
That's
horse.
right.
I don't think going back.
No, not really. Come on.
Yeah, Blasty the horse. That's what people call
I don't think going back to those uniforms verbatim is the right thing to do. But
it. Yeah, probably not.
What
But
year
like-
was that again? I want to look at these uniforms.
4.
2003, 2004.
Yeah, the
There we go.
Iginla years.
Jerome Iginla.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. A little black trim here and there to like bring that red down a little. That looks good. Yeah, I'm looking at what would have been the home uniforms back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah, okay, I'll go along with that. That looks pretty good. I got to agree.
The main thing I do is I'd get rid of the snot horse. Like I think that's got to go. But other than that,
Yeah.
I tend to agree. I think the Flames are one of the few teams where a bit of black kind of goes a long way.
Yeah, and take the flags off.
And take the flag. The flags are ridiculous. The flags are utterly ridiculous. I don't know who okayed them. Like
There are other teams in Canada, and there is another team in Alberta. Like, it's just not.
there's another team in Alberta that has more cups than you. So maybe tone it down, Calgary.
Maybe don't claim Alberta for yourselves.
That was a hell of a rivalry back in the day, man. I mean, it sure probably still is, but wow, those two
Flames,
teams,
Oilers, yeah.
they hated each other's guts back in the 80s. But anyway.
And of course, it was just the Gretzky Death Star killing off the Flames and the Jets at every opportunity.
Flames broke through, what was it, 89? 88?
Yeah, that was
88.
Wasn't there like an own goal involved in that?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I know that they broke through and won the cup one year, though. I knew that.
Yeah, that was 89 that they won the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other series? The Purge?
Nashville, Dallas. I was surprised that Dallas stole game 1.
Mm-hmm.
And they had an opportunity to take game 2 also. Again, it just speaks to Nashville kind of had a mediocre second half of the season. And the fact that they won the division is kind of puzzling, honestly. And I don't know. In the West, any team could beat the other one, except for San Jose, because they're just
Because they look like they just want to all go home.
they have like
They really do, though. I don't think that's a terribly off the mark description.
But like again, none of these series have any juice to them so far. I don't think the only one that does is San Jose Vegas, and the other 3 are just kind of. They're playing the games and somebody's winning them and somebody else isn't, and they're moving on. It's just,
I mean, with the Dallas Pred series tied at 1-1. I mean, we are on track for the Ultimate Predators prediction to be correct.
true.
Of Nashville in 6.
It is on its way.
Which, as you said, Zach, I don't know how much of an Ultimate fan you are if you're only willing to pick your team in 6, but.
Yeah. How ultimate can you be, brother?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, that series means nothing. Again, what that series is only good for.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to start getting something going, because in theory, when the NHL planned out its Winter Classic for next year, where it's Nashville at Dallas, they said, oh, well, it'd be nice if these teams met up in the playoffs. And then they do, and it's like, okay, perfect. We have a storyline for next year. But if it's just like some no-nonsense 5-6 game series, who the hell cares? But you need some sort of inciting incident to crop up. And
somebody smash someone else into the boards head first or something.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, take out Jimmy Benn's ankle or something.
Have we talked about my St. Louis Blues and the Jets yet? No, we have not.
I think that one's surprising. Again, there's not a whole lot of oomph there, but the fact that the Jets lost both those games at home doesn't say great things about the Jets, but it does speak well that they won that first one back in St. Louis. Yeah, are you back on the train, Greg?
Oh, I've never left the train. I've never left. I am all on.
Have they convinced you? Have they made you more confident in your ability to be a Blues fan?
No. No, they'll still like if they were up 3-0, I'd be more like I'd be certain they were going to blow it. But my dream, and again, this probably won't happen. It's not going to happen. But I think the greatest thing in the world would be a St. Louis Columbus Stanley Cup final.
Blues, Blue Jackets.
Blues and Blue Jackets. I don't know how many people that would piss off, but I got to think it would be a bunch.
It probably.
I think that's one of those. I think that's one of those NBC. I think that's one of those NBC Sports like spontaneously combust series.
Yeah.
Well, it's not as bad because I think St. Louis is a good TV market for the Blues, and they've had the team for a long time. And with a chance to go for their first cup, that would get people on board. Columbus, no. I mean, even if they want to try to claim the Cleveland and Cincinnati like TV markets,
no.
still doesn't do a whole lot.
Sadly, I can't speak for Cincinnati because I don't know anybody down that way, but no one up where I live gives a fuck about the Blue Jackets. No one.
Isn't McCarthy from Cincinnati?
He's from, but I'm talking like the Cleveland area, Cleveland, Toledo. I'm like halfway between Toledo and Cleveland. And in Toledo, everybody's Red Wings fans. That's it. They love the Red Wings. But that's what they grew up on. And Cleveland was, as it's proven over the years, it doesn't care about hockey, period. Because we've had the Barons, 7 or 8 times now, between the AHL and the NHL and all that.
The best Barons team was the Sharks farm team with the top hat wearing shark.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a favorite logo of mine as a kid. Yeah,
but really, no one around here you don't see any Blue Jackets gear. No one talks about it. I'm like the only person that even cares. It seems like so. You're right. Yeah. Columbus, it would be like the city of Columbus, and that'd be about it. That's all it would watch from Ohio.
Yeah. I don't know. I just this whole Western Conference is so.
It's just not very interesting.
It's not. You would think that because all these teams are kind of equal standing, that you'd make for some great series. I'm not seeing it yet. I've tried watching the games, and they're tight. Or we've had no team has swept the other one so far. Each team has a win so far, but. I don't know. I've got nothing when it comes to
what this is a good example of, though, is we've talked about it before, where you need the bad guy or and you don't have that in the West.
None of
these teams are what I would call a marquee team.
The bad guys of the Western Conference, the Blackhawks, the Kings, they're not there.
Nope.
Connor McDavid's not in the playoffs. There's no the star players are Patrick Laine, a weird Finnish dude that plays in Manitoba, PK Subban, who's in Nashville and just probably isn't even their best defenseman right now.
Can I just say that people salivating over PK Subban like he's a savior for hockey need to get over themselves?
Well, he legitimately was very good, and he's on the cover of the video game and all that stuff, but I think he plateaued. He's not that next level star that people thought he was going to be.
Yeah, well, he's been a disappointment for my fantasy team. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I guess the only team that people might know from just years of being there is the Sharks, but because they've sharked it up so much, over the last several years, nobody's going to give a damn about the Sharks.
Nobody has faith in them.
But
even the Ducks, the Ducks aren't a big market team by any stance, and I don't know that they have too much, wide national appeal. But in terms of hockey fans, they'd become somewhat of the bad guy. They were the big bad Ducks with Kessler and Perry and Getzlaff and these guys that nobody liked, and even they're not there. So it's kind of you get this new guard of teams in there that nobody knows about. No human being
can stand up to Kessler's hits.
Well, we've established that Duncan Keith is not a human being.
No, there's no marquee value in the West, none. It's just
unfortunately.
You need a Chicago in there. You need.
I want Winnipeg to go to the Stanley Cup Finals so bad. I just want NBC Sports to have to promote a Stanley Cup Finals with Winnipeg in there.
If you want the worst possible final, would be Winnipeg, Carolina. That would be like a disaster for NBC.
One of my favorite things to do is kind of track how the how NBC produces all these broadcasts for the playoffs, because there's obviously a clear hierarchy of how they do these things.
Yeah.
For the West, and you had Calgary and Winnipeg both had home ice advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And NBC's like, God damn it, Calgary and Winnipeg and at the same time. So literally they hired two guys from TSN, Gord Miller and Ray Ferraro, and they had them commute between Winnipeg and Calgary back and forth for the first 4 games of the series. I don't know if they're going to continue that in St. Louis and in Colorado. I didn't watch the St. Louis game last night. But they just like, this is the easiest way for us to make this work. So do that. Hell, even like the Sharks series, Sharks Golden Knights, they just hired the LA Kings play-by-play kid to do it, because like, well, you know these guys and our guys don't know them, so here, you do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that happens. No Golf Network games yet though, so no,
but we got to see the Blue Jackets on CNBC.
Yes.
Yeah. Greg was getting stock tips and Blue Jackets.
I liked what Admiral said. This is the best ever episode of pacing around yelling about the stock market ever.
Right.
But Terry Panarin on the cover of The Economist.
Right, I was going to say that's how Panarin got to be on the cover of The Economist.
Blue Jackets, buy. Lightning, sell.
Well, me, I didn't want to, like, I was thrilled with that was for game 2. I was thrilled with them kicking Tampa Bay's ass, but I didn't want to say anything about it. So I'm just like, I'm really enjoying this program I'm watching on CNBC, because I didn't want to mention the game at all, and that's how the whole thing started.
The best part about watching the games on CNBC is these commercials for these things that I just can't give a damn about.
Because all their advertising packages are aimed at stock
financial people,
50s.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing too about like CNBC after the closing bell is over, like nobody's paying a damn to CNBC, so they're always advertising like these weird like scandal embezzlement documentaries that they have, and Shark Tank.
I love Shark Tank, but anyway, any last thoughts on the first round of the playoffs, boys?
Go Leafs, go! We're at first intermission. Go Leafs, go!
The only other thing that we could put in here from the Lost episode is our Cup final pick. Mine was Winnipeg, Toronto for the hell of it, and get the Leafs their first Cup.
I had Caps and.
You had Caps and didn't you have Caps and Sharks? Because I remember yours was very boring.
Yeah, I think it was Caps and Sharks. Whoa, what the fuck was I thinking with the Sharks?
Well.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure
Sharks were going to be my second team to pick in the West.
Yeah, so I had Caps Sharks, yeah.
I appreciated Zach's Winnipeg, Toronto, but I think just being the eternal pessimist that I am, I think I said it was going to be Winnipeg versus the Islanders. Fans
of the teams that we all picked to make the finals, you're welcome. Or teams that are not fans of those teams, people that are not fans of those teams. So go Jackets. Let's finish this thing off tomorrow night.
Go hockey.
Mike, are you a golf fan at all?
I'm not a golf fan, but I happened to be having lunch in a bar yesterday where the Masters was on, so I saw it happen.
It's funny when everybody's like, Tiger, blah, 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 and I'm like, I don't care, whatever. And as soon as I saw he was in the lead, I switched over and watched from that point forward.
He's magnetic like that, right?
Yeah, and
I was at a bar, eating lunch, and it was just me, and they had the Islanders Penguins game on, and I was watching that. And I hear a bunch of people at the bar suddenly start cheering, but there's nothing happened in the game. So I look over, and they've got the golf game. They've got the golf game. They've got the Masters on, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's happening. And Tiger Woods first Masters in a while.
First in 11 years. His first major since
2008.
2009, I think.
Was that when like his wife went after him with a golf club or something?
Yeah, that happened shortly after. And then he actually was the number one player in the world again back in 2013, and then he had all the knee surgeries. So, even taking out the personal drama aspect.
Yeah, like when he was found in a ditch and all that stuff.
That whole stuff. But there's multiple avenues to this. There is the personal part of it where his life was in such a shamble.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's incredible that he got mentally back to the place that he needed to be. Mm-hmm. And then his body went into such a state with the multiple knee surgeries and the spinal fusion, and nobody thought he was barely golf again, let alone be a world-class golfer.
He had to take an epidural to go to the Champions Dinner for the Masters. Was it last year or the year before?
Last year, yeah.
Because he couldn't walk without it. That's how bad a shape he was in. Mm-hmm. And then age 43 is the second oldest dude to ever win the Masters. Jack Nicklaus won it in '86. I remember that. Because I remember back then thinking, what's the big deal? Jack Nicklaus won a tournament. Because, he was like the Tiger Woods of my era, he was just really good.
Yeah.
But I guess to do it at that age, it was cool to watch. Though.
At that age, he's only the second player in history to win Masters 10 years apart. The other one was Gary Player.
Yeah, it was really cool to see.
And he was just so locked in. These other guys he was just a stroke or two down, and for a while, he's in the mix. He's in that last grouping, but. This Italian dude, Francesco Molinari, he's up by 2 strokes on him. And it's okay, Tiger's going to play really well here and he's going to finish second or third. And you still give him the good old golf clap and good try. And then Molinari puts one into the drink on 13 and just collapses. And then Tiger just stays the course. And all of a sudden he's tied. And he almost does a fucking hole-in-one on 16. It came within inches of holding out on 16, which is incredible. And once he sinks that putt, he's 2 strokes up with 2 holes to go. And that's what, I was paying attention a little bit. And I, my girlfriend was giving me updates. She's a big golf fan. And I'm paying attention. I know what's going on. And I have it on in the background, but the instant it goes, he's up 2 strokes with 2 to play. I think that's when everyone kind of rallied up and said, "Oh, guys, something's about to happen right now." Mm-hmm. And so that's when everybody tunes in. The Twitter starts going nuts, and there it is. Tiger Woods, he didn't finish the 18th hole in the way that he probably wanted to. He did just enough, but he took it back. And for this guy that went as low as he did personally and physically, to get back up to the point where he could be one of the top golfers in the world, as he showed kind of last year at the British Open and at the PGA Championship, where he was in the mix. He was right there, looking like he was on the cusp of being Tiger again. Because we've asked this question for 10 years. Is Tiger back? Is Tiger back? Is Tiger back? Tiger's back.
Yeah.
And to do it the way he did, and then the other part, and something that he mentioned many times, to win with his kids there and to go hug his kids, because he said his kids were all born after his stretch of greatness.
Yeah.
So they don't know what Tiger Woods is really all about. And to see, you watch these matches and other guys sink a hole and it's okay, yeah, very good job. And then Tiger sinks a putt and it's like somebody just won the World Series.
Oh my God. Well, when he sank that putt on 16 and that place exploded, just exploded. It was cool to see. And, from that point forward, and you're doing the math in your head, you're going, okay, what's he got to do? He's up 2 with 2 holes to play. So basically, if he pars out, he'll be fine. These guys have got a birdie just to catch him. And nobody's going to hit an eagle on any of those holes. But you're right that he was just so locked in. That was what was so impressive about it.
Just driving it straight down the fairway every time.
I mean, if I'd walked up, I think it was on 17 when he had to drive, and everybody's losing their minds, from the 16th hole, I would have been flipping out. He just walks up there and just pow, straight down the middle, perfect shot. I'm like, that is just amazing to me that he can do that. But it was really cool to see. And I'm not even a big golf fan. I mean, I've played before and I understand it and all that, but to watch him come back at age 43 after everything he had been through and to rise to that, because the Masters is not an easy tournament to win. I think everybody understands that. And to him to come out and do that, I guess with good golfers. I mean, he had, what's his name, Molinari. That Brooks Koepka's a pretty good golfer.
Yeah, the other guy that was in his final group, Tony Finau, is one of the best drivers on the tour right now.
Yeah, and Tiger can't play that game anymore. He can't play the long game like that now. It's all like, he's got to rely on his short game and his putting, which he was always, always good at anyway. But at his age, he can't go out and outdrive those guys. So he's just got to play the course. Like I think it was it on 17 or 18 where he just played the smart shot. He just laid up and it just
on 18 he was playing the short and again almost played it a little too short.
Yeah,
if he had missed one of those shots or one of those putts, that it's really done. But
if he had hit that par putt on 18, the place would have really gone wild. But he needed a 5 to win, and he got a 5. So there you go. And he won the Masters. But it was really, really cool to see. And then the celebration afterwards, the mom, the kids, all the other golfers congratulating him and stuff. Just a really neat moment. I'm glad I got to witness it. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll be tuning into the PNC Bank National from, Left Nut, Arkansas next week. But this was cool. It was cool to see.
I mean, I don't pay attention week to week necessarily, but I'll tune in for the majors.
Yeah.
And I've actually gotten a lot more into golf recently. I think that's something that, as you get older, as a white man in America, you just start to sports golf.
It's the rule. You have to.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because I had no interest in it for a long time, and now it's like, yeah, you know what? I really want to get onto the range. I want to hit. We have a 9 hole around here. Let's go do that. It's really weird. But
see, if you're white and you have a job and a car, you have to play golf in America. It's just the way it is.
My clubs are just eternally in my car, just sitting in my trunk, for the point I'm going to go to the range today.
I used to do the same thing. I had my clubs with me all the time. That way, if anybody ever wanted to play, I was good to go.
Well, it's like now that I'm in a job that we have to occasionally go to these golf tournaments and stuff and participate. I feel that I don't want to be bad. But with Tiger, I'm kind of scrolling through Facebook and ESPN popped up and they're showing the Tom Rinaldi interview and they have this whole stretch of clips where it's Tiger from right after those surgeries where he is just, it's painful for him to hit a golf ball and he's falling down the ground and again, so many people have so many different views of him and there are a lot of people that I saw that were trying to have the hot take of, but hey, remember when he did that crappy stuff to his wife? And yeah, we all know that. But at a certain point, in America, we love forgiveness stories. We love, comebacks. We love second chances. And I think he's kind of served his time when it comes into respect to some of these.
I think, too, when, they found him in a ditch and there was that whole video of him and, trying to do the alphabet and he was so fucking drunk. And, I mean, look, what more do you want? You want to cut his feet off? I mean, how much worse do you want to make it on him, Yeah, he did some bad things. Oh, they're bad. He didn't go out and kill people or anything, but yeah, it was cool to see. It was cool to see because he's one of the all-time greats. And anytime, the same thing happened with Jack Nicklaus in '86 when he came back to win it. It was like everybody wanted to see it because he was older and it was cool. So that's what matters. It was a cool story. It was fun to watch.
And Tiger at his age, the other thing that starts now is now that he won, it's okay. What's next? Because for years it was always, he's clearly going to pass Jack Nicklaus. It's not even.
It was not even a question.
And then the past 10 years happened to him, and now it was always like, okay, well, I guess that's it. But now that he's won the Masters again, and that he was second at the British Open last year, it's all of a sudden he's only 3 behind Jack.
Yeah, but
he could.
Those majors get tough to win at this age, man. I mean, it's not easy. I will say, too, just one last thing on this. I would love to play that Augusta course just one time. It's never going to happen because I'm white, but I'm not that white.
I would love to go only because of all the sporting events in the country, the best food prices for anything in the country. And decent stuff, too,
Yeah.
It's $1 for a hot dog, literally. And it's you pay all this money to get into the tournament because it's such an exclusive thing. And sometimes you can't even buy tickets. You have to know people or
right.
You have to scalp them or whatever. And then you can get $3 beer and $1 hot dog, and it's like, what is this life I'm living in?
Yeah, they purposely do that though. That's the idea. Like they make it. The Augusta Nationals, like, we keep it cheap. Yeah, for the patrons. They're not called fans at Augusta.
Right.
You're a patron.
You're a patron. All those bird sounds you hear, not natural.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, those are all piped in.
Get out of here.
No, my let me see if I can find it. My girlfriend's so much into golf, so she dives deep on some of these things. And there's like this whole list of things that, as the broadcast, like, I don't think this is a list of that stuff, but as the broadcasters, you have to call things certain. Like,
right.
They are patrons. You cannot refer to like any other sport there. You can't refer to any other tournament there. Really, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to promote other TV shows on your network at all. Period.
Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of screw. Well, I remember there. I forget what the guys.
Here we go. So this is from 40 years ago. Darren Ravel tweeted this out. 40 years ago, this is the rules that Augusta National handed CBS as to what they could and couldn't say. Never refer to the gallery or patrons as a mob or crowd. Never estimate the size of the gallery. Never refer to a player's earnings. Never refer to the Masters prize money. De-emphasize the player's antics. Do not compare any holes at Augusta National to those at any other golf course.
Wow.
The water in front of the 13th green is not to be called Rays Creek, but a tributary of Rays Creek. Make no reference to Masters tickets having been sold out. Make frequent mention of the presentation ceremony to be conducted at the end of the round. Do not guess at where the ball might be. Do not estimate the length of a putt.
Oh, really?
But again, this was 40 years ago. I don't know if that's the rules anymore. Because with all the technology and stuff, I mean, how can you not?
But you know what, though? I don't remember them saying one time, like, how the distance of any of those putts or drives. Sure. Nothing.
And then this was the one for that tournament specifically. Instead of identifying Lee Elder as the first black man to play in the Masters, say he is the first person of his race to play in the tournament.
Yeah, they've got a lot of things like that. It's but that I think though, but in return for that, they give CBS a pretty cheap deal on the rights fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one year they didn't charge any right fees because somebody was protesting or something. And I forget the guy's name. He's got like such a perfect like redneck Southern name. It was like his name's like Hokey or something like that. I can't remember, but instead of like addressing this protest or whatever, he just said giving advertisers problems. He said nope, there's no rights fees. We won't have commercials or something like that. But it was they're very, very particular about everything.
Yeah. The other thing that's odd about the Masters now is because CBS splits the production with ESPN. ESPN carries the first two rounds.
Yeah.
So it's just so strange that Jim Nantz and Vern Lundquist end up calling an event on ESPN because they use the same broadcasters.
I think they have to.
The whole thing.
I think that's one of the rules too. Well, it used to be they wouldn't even allow them to do the first 9 holes. They weren't allowed to televise it, period. At all.
Right.
You weren't allowed to do the first 9. But yeah, I would just one time play that course once. It would be so cool. Yeah. But it's never, ever, ever going to happen because, I'm just not near white enough nor near rich enough. But anyway, so there you go. Tiger Woods. It was really cool to see, and it was fun. Anyway, on that note, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and the YouTubes. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Later.
Later.